Hello, world, and welcome to Creating Light with Kelsey. Man, when you sit with resistance long enough, it'll tell you something. It will tell you something, my friends, because it's not a fucking coincidence of how long resistance has been with me in regards to podcasting and showing up in certain ways. I knew I was on the precipice of something big. Like I talked about last episode, was this new version of me is here, and I've been showing up in the other avenues of my life and how I want to show up with creating light. And I know I'm meant to speak. It's very much a part of my energetic makeup and design, especially if you know anything about human design. I have the Genius Freak channel. So stuff just comes in and I'm meant to just speak it out into the universe, and you're all supposed to receive it and it will digest for people in different ways. And that's like a major component for my medicine that I'm meant to give. So I know that podcasting is a key to how I help people, how I help the collective, and how I facilitate healing. And the thing that was asking for me to change the pattern disruption was how I was speaking. Because this podcast has been around since 2021, but I took it down because how I used to show up, I had like over 50 episodes and I was intimately sharing my past and my experiences, the crunchy shit, you know what I mean? Like we went there and I could feel that it was very opening and healing in some ways, but there was no repair and how I would finish delivering the message. Like I was doing a good fucking job of opening myself up, and I knew it would open other people up to their own wounds and darkness. But then it was just that it was this opening, but not this resolution. And that's what I was experiencing the resistance now of releasing the podcast again, of like, I was starting to do that, which you'll see if you look. Because when I started again at episode 1, because I took all the 50 something episodes down and started over at episode 1, there's some missing episodes because I started to intricately reveal past trauma stories again. And that's where my body was like, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. But how am I supposed to educate the collective? Because this is what I've known in the past. This is how I've always done it. This is how I used to just operate. And sitting in that and being with that long enough, I came to the heart-centered conclusion that I don't want to tell my trauma story anymore. Instead, I want to tell my healing story. And I know, but as a byproduct, there will still most likely be some transparency in what I've experienced in the past and what I've survived, but that's not the core of it anymore. The story is how I've navigated through it, not what I've survived. And that's the shift. Because that's the medicine. That's actually the healing. That's the resolution. That is the repair. That is what people need to hear, because there's not as much access to it. The veil can be so thick and our vision so blind to the power that we hold within of facing ourselves and transmuting the darkness to feel all of our feelings and be present in daily life. Because that's living. That's truly living. And then you make space for joy to be here, and you can experience life and all of the paradox and all of the beauty and all of the heartache. But I did get a little lost in the sauce there. So with my background, I studied to become an art therapist. And so I was in school for 7.5 years. That's a long time. 7.5 years. Yeah. 4 years for undergrad, 3.5 years for grad school, and then your residency period afterward before you can fully practice on your own. That's a lot of time. And, I was trained to sit in the stories and be with the stories, help people process and keep and to share and talk about their stories. And we're just always in the story, in the trauma story. So as I was deeply healing and navigated through a lot of different things and felt like I had acquired enough wisdom to share along the way of what I've learned, obviously, where did I go? Back to the story. That's all I knew. But with my somatic activated healing certification, what Sah D'Simone says is to drop the story, be with the feeling. That was it. That was the mind fuck of like, wait, this goes against my training. So how can I present myself and speak if I'm not talking about the story? And now it's integrated enough into my own being to where I have internally felt that shift of, right, I can tell my healing story now. And I'm hit with a wave of gratitude right now for myself and just all of the mentors and friends that have crossed my path, of being a part of my journey to get here, because it feels, I can feel that my darkness is so held by me and by my presence now. It doesn't need this constant external experiencing through words to be witnessed in that way. That when I'm with my body in my feelings and I allow the emotional wave and the baggage to be here in the now and allow myself to feel all the sensations that it's carrying with it to the best of my ability. Sometimes, I mean, we all still are stretching our capacity to do such things, but because I continuously choose to meet that capacity, it's like it's reached the next level, layer, whatever, if you want to talk about it in linear terms, that I've already met it internally, so it doesn't need to be met externally anymore. And for me, and how I've been perceiving that is I was constantly meeting it externally by how I was showing up to tell my story and the grave detail that I was providing for others to witness and to hear. And what's a really beautiful moment now is that as I continue to move forward with podcast episodes and telling my healing story, a wonderful contemplation of my 8-month healing container that'll be starting in January. So if that's something that is speaking to you and you'd like to be held in that way for 8 months and working with me, just hit me up on Instagram. You can DM me the acronym ATUW, and then we can just chat, have a conversation. I can let you know more of what it is and what to expect. This is more of like the pre-launch phase before I'm like gonna be in full launch mode. But this is it. This is my healing story, is what has made up this 8-month healing container. My navigation of figuring out myself in my internal world, learning to face my darkness and hold it in compassion, challenging it, radical accountability, and then shifting it for the shadows to not be all in the dark anymore and to come into more of the form of empowerment, because that's what it is. Our shadows, all parts of ourselves have a positive intent. Some of them have just manifested differently, and then they can show up as harming the self or self-sabotage or creating this reality of unconsciously perpetuating your trauma. And that is just unaddressed darkness within. And when it becomes addressed, the positive intent gets to come to light now. And you can use it as a power source to fuel your existing and day-to-day life instead of it being to your demise. And that's been my fucking journey the last, when I really opened the door to self in 2017. So since then, like, that's what I want to take you on the journey on, of like, how did I do this? And then how have I now compressed it into an 8-month container that you can take, and radically, like, you will never be the same if you fully complete it, because life gets to be joyous and navigating with ease. Not that we don't experience the turbulation and different waves of all that this human experience is, but we can learn to flow with ease with all of the waves. And that's what I'm really existing in right now. And I'm awakening to it more and more these last few weeks or so, of just being in awe of what I've shifted over the years. Of like, now I'm here and I've in this now moment, I'm like, holy shit, life is easy. Life is of ease. There's also still different phases, but I had a hard phase for a very long time, and now I can exist in a phase of ease and trust that it's real, and hold it and honor it and not push it away. Because in the past, and past programming, and the hyper-vigilant nervous system was used to chaos and turmoil and abuse. It didn't know how to exist in peace, in grace and ease, and joy. Not for a very long time, not for a long period of time. It was always just, it's pretty fleeting. And now I'm here and I'm able to fully embrace it because of the healing, because of meeting myself. And that's what I want to offer people, is the healing story, because it does get to be possible. And that the key to freedom is feeling, fully feeling your feelings. And that's what it is. That's how you arrive. That is how you arrive. But that is it for today, friends. Yay for shifting. Yay for being with the resistance to listen to what it was asking of me. And I'm excited to show up differently on the podcast. I already have been showing up a little differently, because the episodes that still remain and that you guys actually have access to listening to, that was me already trying to do something differently, but I didn't quite have a grasp on it, and now I understand what's being asked of me. One last thing, my weekly somatic activated healing classes, they will be virtual, donation based. So that is also something that you can do to arrive within yourself, to learn how to feel all of your feelings, being present and connected to the body, letting go of the emotional baggage that's inside without having to tell a story. If that speaks to you, get on my email list. That's the only way that you'll have access. And that's also all you have to do. You just have to subscribe, and then you receive stuff, cool stuff, free donation-based classes, amongst other things that will like be coming your way as things evolve with creating light. But thank you for listening. And remember, when we see the light in ourselves, we create light in others.